Hello and welcome to another open source workplace interview. I'm very happy to bring Kyle Tooke from ThoughtWire to the show this week. And if it's your first time visiting the channel, please do subscribe, do like, hit that notification bell so you're alerted to all upcoming videos. Kyle, thank you for being with you. It's great to have you, and welcome to OSW.
Thank you for having me, Steve. Pleasure to be able to share and have this conversation with you.
No, I'm really excited about this, Kyle. It's you have a knowledge, an insight that I don't know that much about, and I'm happy to admit that. And I'm glad that you're going to provide us with an education today and over the coming weeks. So I'm looking forward to digging into that. But first, Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been a career technology sales professional. I've led sales teams. I've been an individual contributor for enterprise software companies ranging from enterprise casino technologies to insurance technologies. And the most recent phase in my career for the past 7 years or so has been in the corporate commercial real estate world, both on the ERP side, having worked for MRI software for a number of years as an account executive, working with commercial real estate companies and organizations around the ERP side, so the accounting, lease administration, that world, and then most recently in the smart building sector. So now I work with organizations that are focused in corporate commercial real estate around their ecosystem enablement, providing and being a thought leader around digital twin technology and helping organizations understand what they are not, and the outcomes and value that this type of technology can bring to their real estate portfolios.
No, that's a brilliant, because that's exactly where I'm in that, probably what I don't know and what I do know and what I think I know around that digital twin. So I'm really looking forward to diving into that. Now, you work for ThoughtWire. It's a Canadian-based company. You're in the US. You're a remote employee for the organization. Now, during this period of lockdown, what does remote working mean for you today as it may have done 3 months ago? And what are the differences? Because I'm sure there's many audience people watching who actually maybe not feel the distinction.
Well, we were in a fortunate situation with ThoughtWire. We're a very nimble company. So we've got approximately 60 employees, and it's not like a company that has 20,000 employees and trying to all of a sudden have this huge shift. And now we have all these remote workers. We need VPN access for 20,000 individuals. For us, we had a lot of the technologies. We already had remote workers in Vancouver, me being in the US, the bulk of our company being in Toronto. So we didn't experience a lot of the challenges that some of these larger organizations, plus we are a technology company. And a lot of the tools that we use, like Slack, for example, we already had in place. So communication, being able to do thought sharing and file sharing and being able to collaborate. We already had some of those tools in place, which I know a lot of organizations didn't necessarily have and had to scramble to try to figure out how are we going to do this. And for me personally, I've been working remote for 16 years. So I've lived this life for a long time, but I know a lot of companies right now, and a lot of the things that we see on LinkedIn, a lot of the webinars that we're seeing right now is the return to work. And are we going to bring everyone back to the office? Are we going to allow people to continue working from home? Some organizations have gone to the extreme and said, you know what, we're going to stay and allow you to work from home through the end of 2020 and into 2021, which I've heard a lot of different perspectives on this. Personally, I think that organizations are going to have to take a flexible approach and give the option. Because I have lived this life for 16 years. I'm acclimated to it, the solidarity of it, and I get my outlet when I have these conversations and when I travel. But a lot of people are not wired to work from the house. There's a lot of distractions. You can find a lot of people will not be as productive, but you've also got the other side of that, where you have some people who are going to thrive and that are going to be as productive, if not more productive, working from home, because we got a lot of distractions at the office too. So I think organizations are going to have to provide a flexible opportunity for the employees to pick and choose. And perhaps maybe it's some days in the office, some days at home. But I think the flexibility is going to be the appropriate path forward for most organizations.
I totally agree with you. I think the flexible path will be the way forward. But for you personally, though, does it feel different working remotely today under lockdown as it did previously?
Well, I've got two small kids who don't understand that daddy has to work during the day. So, and they're not out at school or at daycare, so they're climbing on top of me, and they oftentimes they're popping in on the camera when I'm in these types of conversations. So that's a little different because I
Yeah,
used to have them at the house while I was working. So there's that. But for me, I find that conversations right now are easier to come by. As being a sales leader in the prop tech world and providing a very next gen technology solution to the market, and companies are looking now at how do we aggregate data, how do we normalize that data, how do I use that to be prepared for when we do have people back in the office for utilizing that data and having the insights into how we can leverage that data to allow for different use cases, different workflows that are going to be related to social distancing and initiative items, anything that is going to be around making sure individuals are safe, right? So people are very open to those conversations right now. So I'm finding working remotely as a sales professional, those are easier to come by than they were a year ago, especially, you know, a guy touting digital twin. Digital twin is not nearly as well known of a buzzword in the prop tech industry as it is today. Now the issue that we run into is it's misrepresented, and it's got a lot of different definitions out there, and there's a lot of confusion about what it is and what it is not. But I don't think for me personally it's necessarily different. I'm finding that a lot of people are more open to conversations, and I enjoy the fact now that instead of being on my phone, now I get to be on a web camera and get to have a face to the name. People seem to be much more open to that now, which I find very
yeah,
enjoyable because I'm a face to
yeah.
face person. I like to travel. I like to be in boardrooms with people having these conversations or over a drink. But this is the next best thing while I'm working from home versus just being on a phone where I'm just using, I just have someone's voice and not their face.
Right, right, right. And it's such a different experience. And I went through the experience the other day where somebody called me and there was no camera and it felt weird.
Yeah,
That's all
right.
I can say. It just felt really weird.
Well, and I
But
pick on people every time. So when I'm on a conference call and there's, you know, five people on there and there's the one person who doesn't have the camera on, I mean, I have to give them heck about it. It's like, come on,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't be
It
that
is weird.
person.
It is, it is. And to be fair, that person's probably been on camera all day and it's the first time they had a chance to eat. So anyway, you just know how it goes. But
Yeah.
anyway, you touched on it before, and I really want to dig into this, digital twin. So let's start with what isn't digital twin?
Yeah. So you're going to see a lot of definitions out there right now. A lot of companies are touting that they are digital twins. And in all fairness, and depending upon your perspective, okay, sure, they may be a digital twin by their own rights or by their own definition. But some of the things that I see out there is, 3D visualization is a digital twin. It is, I could draw a 2D drawing and put it into a computer and scan it and say, okay, well, this is a digital representation of a building, right? That's, I think, a very false way of helping people understand what a digital twin could be and the value of what it provides a real estate organization when you look at a built environment. Now, I would say it's not a 3D visualization. It's not a BIM. It is not a dashboarding analytics platform. A digital twin is, and again, there's different definitions or different types of digital twins out there, but it is more about the data. It is a data model. So when you look at what a digital twin is, now you're looking at, okay, well, if you look at historically where digital twin originated from, you had what was called discrete digital twins, which is a digital twin of a physical asset, like an engine or an oil rig. Now, there's value in that, and it is a digital representation of that asset or that item. However, the scope of what value it provides is very limited because it's not providing context around how is that asset behaving, right? Where's the context around that? So then you start looking at another level of digital twin, which takes into multiple aspects of what's going on with that asset, and it's bringing in multiple digital twins. And now you start looking at composite digital twins. So this is when you started getting to digital twins and you see companies talking about bringing in everything that's IT, OT, and IoT. So we're talking about all the physical assets of a larger entity. And that's where you get into composite digital twins. So there's plenty of companies out there that are living in that space right now. And that's probably the majority of the ones that you're seeing that are calling themselves digital twins, because they'll have their nice 3D representation of the built environment. They'll have assets mapped on to the floor plates. They will have information that's being brought in, data around the IoT sensors, the OT systems, so the BAS, the lighting, the elevators, assuming they have those protocols and those integration points. Some have much more sophisticated protocol and connector libraries than others. Then you start getting into other types of digital twins, like process digital twins, which require reasoning engines. It requires AI and machine learning. You get into organizational digital twins, which is where ThoughtWire plays. Now, an organizational digital twin, now we're bringing in really three core pillars. You have the data itself from all the physical assets. Then you have data from people. Then you have data from processes. So this is bringing in all of those discrete digital twins or data models, bringing in all of the dynamic data points from things like occupancy, behaviors, external third-party data sources that are constantly changing. And for you to have an organizational digital twin, it has to be a data model that is able to live and constantly update, and it's real time. So where you look at some people who think that, okay, well, I have a 3D visualization of a BIM, which again is not what a digital twin is. That is a static model. That is an as-built. It's meant for construction. Then once you get into operation, and it's the struggle where BIM organizations, where they try to push that into the operational mode of the asset, of the life cycle of that building, they struggle to achieve and get to the point of where they're trying to be. But digital twin has achieved that, and it's proven. It's out there in the market today. So when you look at these organizational digital twins, that's bringing in physical asset data, your IT, OT, IoT, it's bringing in people, then it's bringing in process. Then you start looking at, okay, well, what can we do with that? What are the outcomes? You start looking at, okay, well, we need context. We need the data. We need the nonlinear rules engines. We need things that are going to allow me to achieve all of the myriad of outcomes of what companies want to do. But you can't get to that until you have all of these siloed data points brought into a single data store, your digital twin. And then whatever applications you put on top of that, you need to have an organization that's working with you, a vendor partner that's providing this digital twin layer, but they're going to allow you the flexibility to pick and choose whatever apps you want to put on top of that, expose that digital twin data, and enable a real estate professional, a facilities professional, a CIO or a CTO to be able to leverage whatever technologies they want to tap into that data and expose whatever outcomes that they're trying to achieve for their organization or their real estate portfolio. So that gives you a little bit more context around different types of digital twins, where different ones play, what they're in. You know, we can spend a lot of time on the values of each individual type, but that just kind of at a high level gives you the idea between discrete digital twins, composite digital twins, process digital twins, and then organizational digital twins. So you kind of have a hierarchy there of the amount of data sources that are coming in, and then what you can do with that data source just depends on the sophistication of the company providing that technology.
And look, I appreciate the detail you went into it and the simplicity with which you explained it. It's really, really helpful for me. So thank you. So whenever we get that data, is it possible then to put an AI tool in front of it so that all that data comes into a feedback loop? So then you start implementing, or it sort of changes the behavior of all the different sensors that you're collecting. Have I misunderstood, or am I interpreting what you're saying correctly?
That's what an organizational digital twin is doing. As I
Okay.
mentioned a second ago, it's a living, constantly updating data model, right? So it has an AI machine learning layer that is taking in information all the time, and it's learning from that using its AI machine learning algorithms. And not only is it constantly updating, and it's also able to fine tune that building. It's able to fine tune processes. It's able to make decision points on behalf of like facility managers, for example. So if you think about an example where if you have access to the data from the building automation system, and we know what the set points are in different areas of a floor plate, and we know from occupancy sensors or through Wi-Fi triangulation or a myriad of other ways that we can identify population density within a given space, I could then hypothetically say, okay, well, if I have a digital twin in place and I know that the set point in an area is 73, but it's currently reading at 77, and there's a CMMS ticket on the VAV box that's in that area that is having an issue, and we should be able to tell you in real time how many people that ticket or that VAV box that's malfunctioning, that's causing that space to be hot, which is causing an increase in hot cold requests. How many people in real time is that impacting? Is it impacting 2 people, or is it impacting 30 people? Well, if it's impacting 30 people, I should have a reasoning engine that is going to triage the thousands of notifications that are going to your facility management team and say, you know what, it's impacting 30 people. This needs to be a higher priority, right? And versus one that's impacting 2 people. So help triage and get the things that are most mission critical and most important at the top of the list and make that proactively pushed in front of the facility management team. At the same time, is it impacting interns, or is it impacting a C-level suite of executives for your premier tenant, right? If it's impacting a C-suite, probably going to be a higher priority than if it's impacting a couple of interns, right? So, but if you have a reasoning engine that's able to do that thinking on your behalf, it can then triage all of those alerts and reprioritize them in real time for your facility management team so that they can focus on the things that are most important. Those are some of the types of things that digital twin can do when it's executed properly.
I love that. I love that. And I appreciate it. I'm glad I asked the question, because then you just give me a whole new level of understanding. So it really is helpful. So we sit here today, Kyle, as we look forward 12 months, what sort of things excite you?
Well, I think with all of the use cases that are tied to COVID, the return to work strategy, with everything related to I don't know. There's just been such a shift in use cases that have moved up in the totem pole with companies. So now I have executives that are coming back to me who I've had older conversations with. They're saying, "Hey, Kyle, well now all of a sudden occupancy is super high importance again, or now the air quality is now at the top of our list, and how are we going to make sure that I can certify for my employees or my tenants when they come back to the office that they're going to be it's a safe working environment." There's a whole new area of use cases, things that you can accomplish with a digital twin that's just expanding people's understanding of what could be. And they're all asking the right questions now: is how do I get there? What data do I need to bring together to analyze in real time? And then what can I automate? What can I proactively push out to the tenants or my employee base to let them know that a space is being cleaned, or that the air quality in the space that they're working is at the highest level of sanitary levels, or is the humidity at the appropriate level, or are there areas that are too high densely populated, and we need to either notify those employees through a employee facing application that, hey, you're too close, just giving them that insight that it kind of sounds a little big brotherish, but companies are going to be trying to figure out, how do I ensure a safe working environment for when people are coming back? Digital twins are a great solution that can enable that. And that's just part of the conversation. When I talk to these large corporates, another key thing that they're trying to figure out is, how do I enable a global ecosystem for our portfolio that creates this same environment, this same sense of safety, this same employee or end user experience in every building is common, whether they're in New York or they're in Singapore or they're in Hong Kong, right? So how do I create that? A digital twin that is interoperable and agnostic across your technologies that are in that space, whether we're talking third-party apps like a CMMS solution or a room booking solution, or we're talking about your OT systems, your various BASs that you're never going to be able to standardize across your entire portfolio, right? how do we make sure that I can achieve the same experience, whether I'm an employee or a facility manager, and how these building operates and how my employees engage with the asset or the building in every single building, regardless. A organizational digital twin that has the appropriate app sitting on top of that can accomplish that goal.
Wow. Kyle, thank you, man. There's so much to review, and I can't wait to listen back to the recording. To be honest, there's a lot you've packed in there. I want to thank you again for your time. I want to thank you for the elegance with which you explained a very complex topic, and I think there are a lot of people who are going to be very thankful that you've took the time to do this. So I want to thank you, and I appreciate you being part of Open Source Workplace.
I definitely appreciate the time, the opportunity to share. My primary goal with my current position is to push the industry forward and start getting professionals in our industry to start thinking about things a different way. Very similar to when we all switched from a flip phone to an iPhone. It's a new technology, it's a new way of thinking, and it exposes a lot of new things that you can do in these buildings. And so anything that I can do to help provide thought sharing and start getting the professionals in our industry to think about this in a different way, that's what I want to do. So I appreciate the opportunity and the platform to be able to share. Thank you for that,
No,
Steve.
thank you, man. No, thank you, man. And we'll speak soon. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.